Joshua Dean, another Boeing whistleblower, is now dead. Joshua Dean was a quality auditor at Boeing, and he testified at a lawsuit last year that Boeing was actively ignoring defects. Apparently, Joshua Dean passed away because he caught a sudden illness which quickly turned into an infection which caused him to pass away. How convenient for Boeing, huh? This is the second Boeing whistleblower who died in 3 months, and watch the corporate media not be curious about this fact at all. Joshua Dean was only 45, and his neighbors and family said he was reportedly in really good health. But this person got sick and died suddenly. Then we have John Barnett, a whistleblower who explained how Boeing used recycled trash and defective parts, who was found dead in an apparent suicide. And once again, this is despite families and friends saying that there was no signs of John Barnett being suicidal. And also, why would he kill himself right before he was set to testify when he was trying to get his story out for years? Like, these stories don't even make sense at face value, but they're not supposed to. These stories sound ridiculous and implausible, but the capitalist class is filled with criminals that is sending a message that if you blow the whistle on them, they will have you killed, and they don't even have to make up a convincing story to get away with it. What's popping? This is a story with Boeing. We got a lot to cover, so I'm gonna quickly touch on this. I covered the last time someone from Boeing died. Actually, let me see. Let me pull that up. Now I think about it. And I covered this in my new video as well, where you had John Barnett, who had no history of suicidal thoughts. In fact, he spent the last few years of his life fighting to get his story out. Here it is. Look at the date on this. This is March 12th. I'm gonna show you this video with John Barnett. So what they will have you believe is that John Barnett will try and get his story out for years, and then he is set to testify at a lawsuit. He already gave one interview. He was on his way to give a second interview, as I'm about to explain in this video, and then right before he's so close to get his story out there, and right before he does it, that's when he commits suicide. Anyway, I don't want to belabor the point because I'm going to make it again in this video. A Boeing whistleblower was found dead in an apparent suicide in a hotel parking lot. John Barnett was a quality manager for Boeing for 32 years, and he was giving a series of interviews where he was exposing Boeing for violating safety regulations for profit. One of the things that John Barnett exposed is how Boeing would take defective parts and then recycle them on new planes in order to prevent production delays and reduce production costs. So essentially, Boeing was building planes out of trash. Ever since he retired in 2017, John Barnett has been trying to get his safety concerns out there. So the corporate media and the police would have us believe right when his story is about to get out there, right when Boeing is about to be held accountable, now that his testimony is more important than ever, that's when he commits suicide? Why wouldn't he wait until after the interviews are done instead of committing suicide in the middle of the case? The police investigating this story are apparently the least curious motherfuckers ever. They said he killed himself in a hotel parking lot. Why not kill yourself in the hotel? It may be just me, but a hotel parking lot seems like a place you would die if you are being targeted by an assassin, especially an assassin who knows exactly where you are staying. And I'm not kidding here. We need the police to come out and explain in great detail how they knew that this was a self-inflicted wound. Because this story is obviously fucking shady. But I need you to understand, the criminals in our ruling class understands this. These stories are meant to send a chilling message to future whistleblowers that they can and they will kill you. They will get away with it, and then they will slander your name by saying you committed suicide. Bro, people have no idea the criminals that we have in our ruling class. You know who dies in the hotel parking lot? Someone who, like I said, someone who's targeted by assassin. They don't even hide it, and there are a lot of people who bought anti-communist, pro-capitalist propaganda because they were like, "Oh my god, communists, Putin get people murdered." Do you know in Russia you get murdered, and Putin, do you know in DPRK you get murdered? No evidence. They have no evidence for their claims. Like, you know those stories you hear about people falling from skyscrapers in Russia? There's no evidence that Putin ever had that ordered. There's no evidence that that's an assassination by Russia or by the oligarchy. But then we see this happen in the United States with Boeing and whistleblowers so obviously getting whacked by the capitalist criminals in our ruling class, to the point where I was looking at headlines, and obviously the corporate media can't tell the truth. They are told not to be curious. Let me see if I can find some more as well, because you will see in the headlines a lot of these capitalists, bourgeoisie, people who believe in Western chauvinism. There's a sense I've seen on Twitter where it was trending from the people in the West that they're like, holy shit, what the fuck? There's this big what the fuck moment going on in the PMC class. You want to know who was absolutely not surprised? Black America. Minority groups. People who are communists. People who are socialists. We've been warning you guys about this criminal ruling class for decades. And now there are a lot of people in America that are going through some shit right now. The Crystal Balls, the Social Democrats, the Ryan Grims, they're going through some things right now. These are the people who voted and advocated for Biden, right? They're going through some things. Because now people are realizing, like, oh my God, I think the fucking Marxists was right. Oh, I think the Tankies was right. Oh, damn, fuck. There are a lot of people who never say it, but they just now realizing, like, fuck, RBN was right the whole time. All the people who put John Fetterman, who canceled RBN for calling out John Fetterman for the Zionist that he is, they will never admit it, but they think in their head, like, fuck, RBN was right. That's why they hate us. They hate people who get it right when they get it wrong. And as a lot of people will say stuff like, oh, they will never do stuff like that in this country. We're seeing this. Because look at the headline there. This is what I'm talking about. Boeing whistleblower dies following a brief illness weeks after the suicide of another. You guys see, they would never say what I am saying unequivocally, that, yeah, Boeing definitely had these motherfuckers whacked. And I'm going to show you guys some more evidence of that. But you guys see how they have to mention it because they going through some shit right now. Like, holy shit, maybe we're the criminals. They're the same liberal capitalist motherfuckers who spread unfounded conspiracy theories about Kim Jong-un and Putin and Xi Jinping killing their political opponents. People who are criticizing the oligarchy getting missing. They're just now realizing that we're doing that shit. Like, there are liberals going through shit right now, seeing cops and paramilitaries that work for the hostile foreign power crack the skulls of senior citizens and peaceful protesters. Everything that we are seeing right now, we told you guys was the reality of this country on RBN, and the white liberal bourgeoisie have told you guys that RBN is only telling you that because that we want clicks. They said the only reason why we're saying this is because we want clicks. Oh, but look at what Nick is saying. Nick is saying that we're a fascist country. He's saying that for likes and clicks. That's what they said when RBN started out. The same people going through some shit because they got to admit the Tankies was right. The RBN was right. That the real reason why people dislike RBN, because my picture, the speech I had with Jill Stein went, I'll say viral for me. You know what I mean? And there are a lot of the RBN haters that are like, oh my God, this nigga Nick, how the fuck he out here doing shit? You know my haters, who the fuck this nigga Nick think he out here doing shit? And that one of the most satisfying things. They want to tell Misty, like all the social democrats, all the Bernie-crats who thought they was the wave, they thought they were the future of the left. They was left behind. They were made irrelevant because they were been proven incorrect by time. because I've been covering the Boeing scandal, exposing the crimes of the ruling class. You guys saw the hotspot I covered when the last guy died. So now you see these headlines where they can't say that Boeing killed him, but hey, they like, hey, isn't it kind of weird that someone committed suicide who was also a whistleblower? Yeah, they're kind of strange. Yeah, kind of strange. That's like what liberals do, and that was what so many Americans do. Like they would say the same thing that should lead you to the conclusion that will lead you to be a revolutionary. Like liberals would say shit like this. Like the Bernie cracks would say shit like this. They're like, man, APAC, they spend a lot of money on our elections, man. Isn't it kind of like our elections is rigged? They're like, huh, yeah, huh. Now you think about it, yeah, kind of weird, huh? All right, who are we gonna vote for next election? Like they never learn from the conclusions, from the stories and in the happenings in our country. They come to the conclusion, they just move on. Now, this is the reason why unequivocally saying that Boeing had this person killed. I'm gonna play this. This is from Boeing whistleblower Joshua Dean. This is our friend's hotspot. I tell you guys, hotspot. We dropping bangers after bangers, and not only my hotspot videos, it's also the overall coverage on hotspot on X. You know what I mean? So let's play this clip. So here it is. Boeing whistleblower Joshua Dean told NPR on Friday. So I don't want to spoil it. Let's listen to him. So there was an NPR interview on February.
But Dean says many of the workers knew something was off.
We're having a pizza party because we're lowering defects, but we're not lowering defects. We just ain't reporting them. You know what I mean?
Dean was a quality auditor at Spirit's factory. His father and grandfather had worked there too, and he took his job seriously. So he got frustrated with what he describes as a culture that pressured employees not to report defects in order to get planes out of the factory faster.
Now, there are a lot of cute things that capitalists are doing right now. They keep saying stuff like, oh my God, isn't Boeing so awful? Oh, you sweet summer children. They're like, oh my God, Boeing is so awful. Boeing is so unethical. Fam, Boeing got caught. I promise you guys, this is standard, my friends, because as people who read theory, people who actually study the science of economies, of how these companies operate, the science that we read through Marxism here. How do companies make profit, my friends? How do companies make profits? Companies make profits by cutting labor value, pushing costs into the consumers, and reducing production cost. So one way you can reduce production costs, once you squeeze labor value, which Boeing can't really do that much of because they pay their engineers really well. So since they pay their engineers really well, the option to squeeze wages is not the primary way you can make profit. The most primary way you can make profit is reduce the amount of production costs. And the way you can reduce production costs is if you reduce the amount you spend on safety. You take shortcuts on safety regulations. One of the reasons why they recycle planes using trash with the last guy is because buying new parts costs money. Buying new parts costs money. Upkeep takes money. So when you have a system where everyone is searching for never-ending profits is a horrific way to centrally plan your society. Having a company like Boeing has so much power, but their quest is never-ending profit. So once you squeeze as much money you can as the workers, you're contracted from the government, so there's only so much cost you can push on the quote-unquote consumer. So the first two options are mostly out of the table when you look at Boeing and their industry. So the number one way you maximize profit when you maximize your market share is that you cut corners on production costs, which means you cut corner on safety. And people are like, oh my God, why is this happening? Of course this is going to happen. Of course, if you guys read theory, if you guys read history, if you guys understand how economies work, which is why our country purposely try to keep people dumb. They don't want people to understand labor value. They don't want people to understand how companies make profit. They just make up shit. Oh, well, we can't pay that worker that much money because he's a low-skilled worker. No, they're not paying that worker because they're trying to make profit and steal their labor value. If you have work that drives and creates revenue, you have work that is of value. The concept of low-skilled labor is capitalist propaganda. But in this case, it's of course this was going to happen. And John Oliver dropped a segment where he didn't even get into it like this, but John Oliver exposed that before Boeing merged, the faction in management that managed Boeing in their merging of these two companies was the worst faction. You had this one company that was upstanding and safety, and they merged. He did this whole long segment explaining how during this merger, the worst part of the industry was elevated. John Oliver, thank you for covering that, my brother. A lot of people was educated because of the Boeing segment, so I'm not going to be an asshole. But why do you guys think that is? Why do you guys think that is? In a pursuit of never-ending profits, of course they're going to go after safety. So sorry, let me go back to this video. I almost damn near forgot about this video. Let's get back to it. I'll play from the beginning where Joshua Dean was explaining the culture at Boeing where there was pressure put on safety quality control managers, which of course is going to happen. And how is this even possible? Because as once again, John Oliver explained, our government deregulated the industry to the point where Boeing managed themselves. So this was our government designing this. Now, there are a lot of people who talk about central planning. Guys, capitalism is central planning. It's a choice to run your society based on a sense of anarchy and the whims of the capitalist class. It's not an intelligent form of central planning. So when the capitalist class chooses their central planning model, they give the power to the capitalist class to regulate themselves instead of this almighty scary government that people are afraid of. Essentially, the communities and the neighborhoods holding the people in power accountable. So this situation that we're living in right now is, of course, the end result. When you give capitalists the central planning model, then they will give capitalists the power to regulate themselves. So then they will reduce production costs doing with that said. Reduce protection for consumers because that is not in their interest. But anyway, I'll shut up now. Sorry, Ivano, that's a good way to put it. For a lack of a better term, chaos. That's probably a better way to put it than anarchy. You're correct. I was like, what's probably a better way to put it? Because there are a lot of anarcho-communists who are not like that. You know, there are a lot of people who are more. I'm getting really into the weeds now, but there are a lot of anarchists who get pissed at me when I say this. I don't have anything against anarchists. They're based, but what I'm saying is there's a difference between the capitalist model of chaos, anarchy, unplanning, which leads to the people who have private property, the people who own the mean of production. They will design a society that suits the interests of the people. They will create a society that gives them more profit and power. So that's what I mean when I say anarchy and chaos. I'm not dissing anarchists. I'm just saying it's different when you give capitalists that power, if that makes sense. But anyway, let's continue this video. So you guys hear this whistleblower. We're not even to the main story. We get to our main story.
Says many of the workers knew something was off.
We're having a pizza party because we're lowering defects, but we're not lowering defects. We just ain't reporting them. You know what I mean?
Dean was a quality auditor at Spirit's factory. His father and grandfather had worked there too, and he took his job seriously. So he got frustrated with what he describes as a culture that pressured employees not to report defects in order to get planes out of the factory faster.
I think they were sending out a message to anybody else. If you are too loud, we will silence you. If you make too much trouble, you will get the Josh treatment. You will get what happened to me.
Dean was fired last April. He says in retaliation for flagging improperly drilled holes in fuselages. He's given statements as part of a shareholder lawsuit against Spirit. Spirit denies his allegations and is fighting the case in court. But Dean says many of the workers knew something was off.
We're having a pizza party because we're lowering defects, but we're not lowering defects. We just ain't reporting them. You know what I mean?